Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rage, and we are back today to talk about Siege Battleworld, the upcoming Marvel Strike Force newest game mode, and this is going to be the newest content that's coming to the game, but as well the most exciting in terms of PvE, and it is requiring quite a wide roster. So I wanted to bring all the information that we have so far, as well as to help you guys prepare, get a background and understanding of Siege Battleworld. But yeah, the developers confirmed from the Q&A last week that it's likely coming early November. So we only have a couple weeks here. There's going to be some prep events coming out soon too as well. But yeah, I wanted to bring all this to you guys so that way you have everything in the video. And that way you can also review and see what you have to work on as well. But it's seemingly appearing to be one of the more broader PvE game modes that we're going to be getting our roster used to, especially with some of the recommendations that have come out. Now, I do want to stress, guys, that remember, in the past, they've had this recurring trend of this, is that when they recommend or say prepare this team, it's not always the case, right? So definitely take this with a word of caution. I'm going to go through all the teams and walk you guys through which ones I personally recommend, but in the meantime, also let's see how this game mode turns out to be before we start investing before the introduction of this new game mode. So I think first and foremost, for those of you that aren't even aware of what Siege Battleworld is, I'll just give you a quick introduction here. But essentially, if you played Star Wars, Galaxy, Galaxy of Heroes, it is very, very similar to the territory battles. I personally have not played it, but I've had a chance to review it, and it is quite similar, where each of the actual events are broken down into days and as well as the different zones. But essentially, we have this siege that lasts for 6 days. It's going to kick off every week, and it basically just keeps on going. Once the previous week ends, the new one starts. Very similar to raids, right? If you have the auto launcher, there's standard missions that essentially allow you to take on waves of enemies, where you can rack up these victory points for your alliance, and then you ultimately advance to the big bad boss, which in this case has been confirmed to be Null. Every enemy wave that you defeat does earn the points, but as well, the new wave won't appear until you finish it off. So that's why it's going to be a total team effort. Having said that, there's also a passive component to this Siege Battleworld, which is known as a Spec Ops mission. You can send your certain characters on special side quests to score, and I'm assuming that there's going to be certain requirements, because you can't just send anybody. So there's probably going to be certain niche characters that you can utilize, and that's going to help you kind of earn points for your alliance, and as well everyone taking a turn to use that. And then lastly, the big bad boss battle in Null. That's going to give you the final rewards, as well as the culmination of all the work that you've done through the 6 days is going to lead to that. So that's really the gist of it, right? The plot twist here that they utilize is that each character that you use can only be used once per day. So it doesn't matter if it's standard, doesn't matter if it's Spec Ops, that one character can only be used once. So there is a bit of strategy involved, in the sense that you have to be very strategic with which teams and character you use, because once you deplete that resource for the day, that's it. So that, in a nutshell, is the new Siege Battleworld. But there has been quite a bit of information already kind of getting released in terms of which teams we need, and it's interesting because we also had some teasers on the website too, so I do want to quickly talk about that as well. But in case you guys missed it, these were 2 different blogs that came out, and they kind of were added at the very end of both these blogs as well, where it was like some sort of prepare for Battleworld, or how to prepare for Battleworld, as you can see on the screenshot here, right? And there's a few teams. It's interesting that both the blogs had 2 completely different sets of teams. So for the first blog, it was obviously setting up for an event that was starting, but it was a nod to Hive Mind, Extreme X-Men, Spire Society, Alpha Flight. What do all these teams have in similarity? Well, they're all part of raid teams, right? They're all part of the meta. Actually, Spire Society and Alpha Flight, they're both used actually in Orcus, and as well as the mainly Spotlight for Alpha Flight. But I say Spire Society because they're used a lot more predominantly. They're the required one for the both. Hive Mind, Extreme X-Men, they're mainly for Orcus, not so much Spotlight. They can be used for a note or two in the Spotlight raids, but otherwise, I would consider all 4 of these teams probably a must build, because you need these teams as a way to kind of achieve at least 70-80% plus for both Orcus and Spotlight. So in my eyes, this is good value. I would definitely recommend these 4 because it's going to help you a lot already in the PvE game, especially the raids that we're doing every single day. I also want to point out, I think Hive Mind, Extreme X-Men, and Spire Society, they still have a bit of staying value before they turn over. But the next team that's going to turn over for the rotation-wise that we calculate anyways is likely going to be either Mutants or it's going to be possibly Bio. So just be mindful there. Spire Society stay for a while just because they were the previous newest team before Orcus and Night Stalkers. Now, I want to talk about this October 11th block, because this only happened a few days after, right? And this was actually already in preparation for the Swamp Showdown event that started earlier this week. But you can see they added a few teams here, and it was really interesting. It's quite a big difference from the ones that we saw listed here, right? So there's Mercs for Money, Out of Time, Superior 6, Illuminati, and as well as Cabal. So this is a very interesting mix. It seems like they chose some of the most meta teams coming out of War. So in this case, obviously Mercs for Money is one of the newer ones, and it's very, very prominent in War. Out of Time was one of the more prominent defense ones, and then obviously some of the newer teams have changed it up. But Out of Time, yeah, I mean, they came out February, March this year, so they are a little bit dated now. But you keep in mind, you do need Out of Time and Cabal to unlock Old Man Logan, who's also part of Mercs for Money. So you know, I guess by that logic, you're gonna get a value there from another legendary event. But yeah, it's very interesting that this is quite a bit of a different mix. So out of the mix here, guys, like personally for myself, like I actually don't have the most set team that I have ready to go is probably Cabal, because I use Cabal for Dark Dimension 7 and Dark Dimension 8. So they're going to give you probably the best kind of all-around value, because they can actually be used in one of the highest endgame PvE states. Illuminati, we're not really talking too much about that, because that one's required for obviously the next legendary event, but we don't know how difficult it's going to be. But that one's been hyped up for quite some time, because you'll be using them with Annihilator. So just food for thought there. Either way, I do in a way agree that all these teams on screen are in some way, shape, or form utilizing the game mode. The only one that I would caution you is probably Mercs for Money. My Mercs for Money team, I only have Old Man Logan built up, and then everybody else is sitting at like level 20, level 30, with the exception of Deathpool, because Deathpool was reworked, obviously, and she was always an important and prominent character in the game, and you can use her, obviously, for the progression and journey of unlocking Apocalypse. So just some thought there. But yeah, out of the mixture, I would focus on Out of Time and Cabal to get your Old Man Logan. Superior 6 is a great all-rounder team in the entire game. I think Spider Slayer is the only one I don't have built up, but everybody else is actually tuned up quite a bit. And then, like I said, I think Illuminati and Mercs for Money, those two are the one I'm kind of cautioning right now, because we just don't know how the future landscape of the game is going to be. We don't know how difficult this next legendary event is going to be, and as well, building up a full War team, I guess you'll get value out of War, but just food for thought. That's kind of where my account stands. But I also want to point your guys' attention to the teaser that we had on the Marvel Strike Force Westward, right? This is the first zone that was actually teased, and it was their way of basically telling us that there is going to be an Astral Tea coming, as you can see in the last and final mission. So it's City, and keep in mind, City means that we could probably use our Spire Society here. All those characters are City. Cosmic's interesting, because there's not really a lot of Cosmic characters from this mixture here. So that's probably the one that we're kind of waiting on. It could be a part of Astral too. Maybe you can use some Astral characters, Annihilators. Spider-Verse, obviously you can double dip with Spire Society once again. I guess technically you can use Superior 6, Sinister 6, Synergies, and City as well. And then Cosmic again, then Astral or Pegasus. So yeah, this screenshot doesn't do a lot of justice for us. So I do feel like we should lead more on the information that has been circulated, but these teams are probably going to be kind of linked up around different kind of categories, similar to those screenshots that we see here. But anyways, guys, that's what we have right now. I'll keep you guys up to date, but yeah, it's only been a week or so, but there's been a lot of information circulating already on how to prepare, so it's definitely going to be really interesting once this event comes, and as well as the new game mode. But we have a couple weeks here, so thank you for your guys' time. Let me know what you think of comments below, how you feel about it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.